Hello and welcome to Life in the Bitter Truth. This is the podcast where we seek to understand the deeper, sometimes painful aspects of life and what it all means to us. I'm Vittorio.
And I'm Alex. Thank you, my fans. Today we're going to be talking about something very painful, and that's politics. And
politics are fun. People get wacky about politics.
I don't know what you keep doing to me. I keep saying I'm depoliticizing myself, and every time you just pull me right back in.
You know why? Because politics are a comedy of our modern times, because people get stupid about politics. People are so sensitive. People are so anti-community. You know, they're just social. They have a social inability to have a conversation about politics and have a disputed opinion, but be civil.
Yeah.
Civil discourse. There you go. There's the word.
Civil disobedience. What?
Civil discourse. That's the problem with most. That's the problem with our fractured country. You know, you got the libtards, you got the conservatives,
the libtards,
the liberal whack jobs. Yeah. So that's
what does libtard? What does that word mean?
To me or to the general people?
What is it? Where did that word come from?
I don't know. Liberal retards.
Oh.
Which, by the way, thank God, retard is coming back. Don't get offended, people.
Of course they're going to get offended. That
retard
is
coming back.
Word.
Didn't we talk about that?
Yes, we did.
Retard's coming back. I love that word.
You loved calling us that when we were kids.
You love the word retard is coming back in full force, and it's a good word. It's not a pejorative anymore. It's a good.
Oh, are you reclaiming it?
I'm reclaiming it
because yourself
for the people.
Oh, great. Yeah. My dad is a man of the people.
I am a man of the people.
I told my dad that the next time we talk about politics, it has to be done in ASMR.
Yeah, okay.
So
let's get back. So what's been going on with you? What's been happening since the last time we talked?
I don't know. Just working and hiding under my pillow, honestly. Not wanting to just face the world, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
The world's that difficult?
It's just not the vibe sometimes, and I sound like a Gen Zer. I sound like a Zoomer, but I literally don't care.
A Zoomer?
Yeah, we're Zoomers. You're boomers and we're Zoomers.
I am not a boomer. I think it's...
Yeah, you are.
I think it's...
hold on. Let me just say I brought out my computer today to fact check.
You're just like the you're CNN and I'm having to tell you fake news.
Boomer age range.
Okay, here we go.
It says individuals born between 1946 and 1964. Wow, you are on the fucking cusp.
Cheers to everybody in my age group.
So you're Gen X,
I'm
really?
Gen X. That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Delicious.
You are just like Gianni, because Gianni is on the border of millennial and
there we go.
The Zoomers. So anyway,
I've
been feeling like a Zoomer just because. Granted, I'm an older Zoomer, so give me some credit.
Okay. I wish I had your problems.
Thank you. But I don't know. It just work is stressful. Businesses are stressful.
Business is stressful. That's right. Making money means work.
Yes, it's not easy. That's for sure. And I had a conversation with Grandma today. I called her and was just telling her about the business, and she was just saying, "Well, it doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound fun." I'm like, "No, Grandma, we got to make sure we're flipping product here."
Well, work is supposed to be a little fun, right? But you got to flip. You got to move product.
Yeah,
that's right.
You got to let things go.
You're doing grip discounts and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
twofers. Was it BOGOs?
BOGOs, yeah.
I'll take a BOGO, please.
Yeah. No, just when we vend. We talked about this last episode. You're like, vend? That sounds so funny.
Oh, vend. That's right.
When we vend on Wednesdays in East LA, we like to flip stuff. So we're like...
East LA?
Yeah. At this community center with East Los Sol, a great community group that we work with.
Cool.
We're their resident vintage vendor. And so it's really cool because we're the only ones that people come to for that type of stuff. But yeah, I've just been giving crazy ass deals just for shits and giggles, just to get things moving. And everyone's very happy about it. They're like, "Oh my God, are you serious? Are you sure?" And I'm like,
everybody wants a discount on discounted clothes.
And they're beautiful vintage pieces, and I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, take it, dude. Just take it.
Wow.
You know?
Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah. So again, we're, just because you don't ever ask me what's been going on with me.
What's been going on with you, Dad? Tell me.
I've been working on the studio. It's been repainted. I guess we said that before.
Yes,
I've
we
been
did
very
last
slow to
episode.
get things updated, and I'm getting there, but it's, I'm busy. I mean,
Yeah.
I got things I got to do all the time. So
Yeah. What watch are you wearing today, and what are you drinking?
I am drinking a classic Manhattan.
Can you tell us how you made it really
A
quick?
Manhattan is basically
For the people?
a 3-to-1, 3 parts bourbon, 1 part vermouth, sweet vermouth, a couple dashes of orange bitters, a couple dashes of Augustine bitters, and a little cherry. Delicious. The one who makes the best is your sister.
Oh my God. Of course. Heavy-handed.
Heavy-handed.
Let me try this.
It's very delicious. So
I don't drink bourbon
and
often.
My watch is my Globemaster, beautiful Globemaster, on a leather strap that I've got from some brand in some company out of Vietnam.
Great.
They do custom leather bands because these are cheaper than the Omega band,
Right.
which is somewhere in the safe or whatever it is. Because these are cheaper. These get damaged. These are cheap to replace. And like,
They might get more expensive with these tariffs.
quick release, whatever it is, what it is. Tariffs are good.
Speaking of,
Very
today,
good. So what are we talking about today?
God, we're going to be talking about Trump derangement syndrome. And I didn't know what the hell this was.
That's
And my
right.
dad's like, your people created it. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
That's right. The libtards.
Oh my God. We're going to be talking about that and kind of going into some of the issues stemming from the Trump derangement syndrome, the dialogue around it.
The problems that the libtards have.
I guess. I mean, there's lots of issues. I don't know if it's just ours or whose it is, but
Yeah.
and why we should care, right?
Well,
That's
it's
always
important. It's important to care where the country's going. You know, we have a national divide in our country. We have unfortunately, it's a fractured society. And you know what they say? Our enemies are looking to conquer by division. Right?
Of course.
So the last time don't quote me, but for God's sake, so you people out there, but the reality is, if we think about the fractured society that we have, it is the last time that I can recall, and I wasn't there, but at least from all the readings is, during the last Civil War, right? And they've made movies on, a modern Civil War, right? But if you could imagine,
Those are freaky. I don't like
it's
movies
crazy.
like that.
It's a situation where, can you imagine if we had a Civil War today? Definitely the conservatives would win. The conservative
You guys are definitely more armed than we are.
well, beyond that, the majority of the country is conservative. You've got enclaves in most of the major cities because cities being so urban, have a conglomeration of people with with diverse
Views.
whatever, not views as much as social, whatever, maybe views it is. But if you look at the rest of the country,
Everyone else is very traditional.
You look at the map, it's like all red, and you got dots that are blue.
Right.
But unfortunately, those major metropolitan centers like New York City,
Are packed.
Los Angeles, San Diego, hell, even Las Vegas, for God's sakes, has become crazy, crazy liberal, right? Even Austin, Texas, right? Texas, Tennessee in certain parts, you've those major, and then of course you got Illinois, you've got Chicago and those areas.
Right.
Those are those metropolitan areas which are highly liberal, and unfortunately they control where the state votes. San Francisco, Los Angeles controls what happens in the state of California. So, like example, in California, we've got a supermajority, right? And to speak of the libtards or the liberal retards, it's funny. The state of California, what a beautiful state we live in, right? And completely destroyed by the liberals, And they have a supermajority, which basically means, for those who do not know, is they control both the upper and the lower house in Sacramento, right? And they can pass any crazy vote, any crazy law that they want.
What's a crazy one to you?
Oh, Jesus, I mean, everything from sanctuary cities all the way through to this high-speed train that's going nowhere. I mean, Merced.
Yeah, what is happening with that?
You want to go to Merced?
Not really.
I mean, what's in Merced? Who gives a shit about Merced? I mean, I'm sure it's a
all of our fans in Merced are going to be fucking pissed.
What I'm saying is Merced is a farming area.
Yeah.
So what's the point of high-speed trains? It's just, what they ought to do is build a high-speed train to Vegas, baby.
I thought they were going to do that.
They're doing that, but it takes, takes money and all that kind of stuff. But again, California has been destroyed. The liberal politics in the state of California, and I'm no fan. You've heard it 1,000 times. Gavin Newsom has destroyed the state of California.
Oh my God, everyone hates Gavin Newsom. I have Jacob hates him too, but I have just such a passive opinion of him.
This jackass
I could care less about
is
Gavin
thinking
Newsom.
of running for president. And it's funny, I talked to your mother, your grandmother, and we were talking about it on I don't know where I was, but I was talking to her, and she's funny. She goes, "Oh, all these women like him because he's good looking." I go, "He's stupid. He's like." He's an empty suit. This is your grandmother saying this.
My grandma?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you, grandma.
He's brain dead. This is your grandma, right? And so it's true, right? My mother is very old school. She comes from a communist country. She came from a communist country, which destroyed her, her beautiful country, which is now a shithole. And that's what communism, that's what progressivism, that's what liberalism does. It destroys societies from within because, that's what happens. So. That's my 2 cents. But so again, back to California. California's been destroyed. It'll take 100 generations to restore California in the way it's going, but it's never going to go back. So this jackass who wants to run for president, give me a break. So
jumping to, and maybe through there, we can talk about what Trump derangement syndrome means, because I didn't know what TDS means.
Define it.
According to Wikipedia, it is a pejorative, a pejorative term used to describe negative reactions to U.S. President Donald Trump that are perceived to be irrational and to have little regard for Trump's actual policies.
TDS, Trump derangement syndrome.
The term has mainly been used by Trump supporters to discredit criticism of him as a way of reframing the discussion by suggesting that his opponents are incapable of accurately perceiving the world. Oh my God. Now it's falling on our perception of the world. It's so fucking meta. Jesus.
So if you think about it, right, it's gone on. So for the last 4 years, right, which is from my perspective, which is where this TDS was created because of the libtards, fear of President Trump coming back into office, right? And so because his foundational, which a lot of people don't understand, Trump was a Democrat for a very long time.
Was he?
Yeah, and so he, as all billionaires and businessmen, they donate to both parties, right? He was invited. He went to Hillary Clinton's daughter's wedding.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. All these rich politicians, they all are in bed together.
Oprah, the one of the biggest hypocrites out there, they were buddies, And so when he decided to run for politics, and, it was kind of funny, his position was simply, from a business perspective, this country is running aground. It may be in its final stage, life support, right? And that's been used a lot in our current politics. And the problem is, I think he took a position that if he's going to go in there, he's going to go in there and look at our national structure like a business and change it. And
I feel like that's been the wording around him, is treating the country like it's a business.
The problem with our government, the federal government specifically, the state government, local government, is that we have so many layers of government. It's just the levels of bureaucracy that we're governed by in this country is unfathomable. It's just crazy stuff. So, but let's speak about the federal government, right? So the federal government, is just going on. It's been going on for decades and decades and decades. This overspending and all. I don't care what party you're in. I'm actually, most people think that I might be conservative or a Republican. I'm actually not. I'm a libertarian. I want less government. I don't want any government. If we could minimize government, that's the best thing. We should have a part-time government. We should have no government employees. All this government employees that are being terminated because they're on the government dole.
Who's gonna watch our national parks?
You know what? Why do we need anybody to wash our national parks?
Watch them. Take care of them.
Take care of them.
Yeah.
Why?
I used to want to be a ranger.
Look at this. I'll give you the example. You brought a great example up. No. So let's say, the Palisades, beautiful communities, a lot of people harmed. Why? Mismanagement of government.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
That's been,
we have a poor water policy in the state of California, especially in Southern California. We have a poor forestry policy in the state of California. That's why there's these forest fires just create just unfathomable damage and pain for people that live in these homes. And a lot of the society don't care because these people that live in the Palisades are rich. Well, they're wealthy or they're comfortable, whatever word you want to use.
I mean, I heard a lot of people saying, who fucking cares? They're rich. They can deal with it.
And that's wrong because you know what? They struggle to buy their home, whatever their cost is, if they can afford that. God bless them. Don't be jealous, you libtards.
Oh my God. What if it wasn't a libtard that said that? You're like, I doubt it.
I doubt it, right? Because most people who are,
speak that way
are socially inept and they don't have the social discourse to be able to have a conversation where, it's okay to be from a different opinion, as long as we all respect each other's opinions. I don't care what party you attest to or what crazy, wacky, whatever you are, as long as we can have a good conversation about a topic and we may disagree, doesn't make a difference. I still love you.
And for me, I feel like it's important for people when I have conversations with different people that I know about politics. I think it's important to recognize our collective, what's the right word? Contradiction. Like there's always going to be contradiction in everything that we do, right? Nothing is ever going to be perfect. There has to be room for, interpretation, right? Perception, even this definition of Trump derangement syndrome. It's just our perception of the world, and we vote and act based on that.
But I'll tell you this, the TDS description and what you read is actually a very good explanation of where we are in today's society. We are so heavily polarized by people's crazy beliefs, whether you're reading People magazine for your news or whether you're reading CNN or Fox or whatever the hell it is, Axios or whatever the hell these outlets are. You have to learn to gather your information from multiple sources and not read one because they're all lying to you. They're all lying to you.
I know that there are apps and services that you can kind of search a topic or whatever, and it will give you like the percentage of this is 75% right or 30% left or whatever. Or this is actually a moderate, actually true fact-based article without any. So I feel like there are services that are coming out that are like that.
That's where society is actually has reached, that we actually have to have that. We have to have AI or these kinds of applications, third-party apps to determine and tell the user that they're 30% factual, they're 20% or whatever the percentage is. But that's the problem. So when we jump back into the TDS component of it, if you think about society, of all the groups, all the political groups, the liberals will actually eat themselves if you don't follow and you don't toe their line. So as an example, I'll give you this one example. There is Bill Maher, right? Heavy liberal. You can't get any more liberal than him.
For sure.
But what he has done is he has spent the last, I would say, 2 years probably criticizing his own political party because of the wackiness and the approach that they've taken to social engineering in this country. And it has been that way. So the Democratic Party, if we're looking at the two parties, are now known as social engineers. They're no longer part of the working class. The Republicans have flipped that, and now the Republicans care about the working class people, saving taxes and all that kind of stuff. It's very fascinating because you read all these things.
This is the type of shit that makes you want to jump off a cliff.
I'm telling you, it's fascinating by that. And we are now more and more, our society is being bent or being focused on what's happening in Washington, D.C. We're losing focus on family. We're losing focus on relationships that are important to us because we all have an opinion about everything, one direction or another. I mean, I've heard everything from, people, relationships that have been together, and it falls apart because
of that.
They have views. I know this one lady who's a friend. She's a libtard, and I'll tell her that, and I always do it. So you know who you're talking about. I know you know who I'm talking about. And so she told me, we were at a dinner party, and I think she said to me, she was dating. It's tougher when you're older to date because you want to have companionship and all that kind of stuff, and you have to be cautious about resources and all this kind of thing. But so she was telling me, I'm open, but I can never date somebody who's conservative. And I thought to her, I remember saying that to her. I go, you are limiting yourself to 50% of the population, if not more.
And even more so because you have you're a certain age range as well.
Exactly. So you're limiting yourself even more. And it's kind of funny. It's just, that's where we've come from. That's where we've gotten to. So I guess,
No, I definitely understand that. I think I'm in a special position as someone who grew up with a family that has very diverse views.
Sure.
Half of our family.
Well, let's break it down. So our family is what? We've got everything from
we're multicultural, we're multi-religious, we're
multiracial.
We are
multi-religious. You said
multi-political as well.
Right.
Like we are all across the board. And it's interesting that we're all raised by the same family members, but we all kind of came out differently. And so obviously growing up with my elders who are all immigrants who came to this country with nothing.
Legally, of course. Well, I'm not speaking of all of them, but from my side, all came in legally.
On our side, we're good now, thankfully.
Okay, good. Good now, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Legally then.
Yes. Yeah. But, everyone kind of came with their own baggage, their own story, their own struggle, and really leaned on this country and the American dream to kind of uplift them. And they used it to its full advantage, right? Grandma came here with nothing and didn't settle for less, right?
Well, if you think about your, grandma, which grandma we talk about? My mother, came from a fairly affluent background. They had businesses and they had wealth, and they came to this country because the country that they came from was dismantled by communism. So if you think about that logic side of it, they come to this country with an opportunity and a willingness to work hard and teach their children better. And
there was never a maybe, or it was always 100%, right? Grandma, we were raised with her to be like, either you go to school or you work like a dog. Pick one. Regardless, you have to work.
Yeah, in my family, we're the most important push that we have is education is paramount.
And a lot of people aren't raised like that.
Yeah,
I've realized as I've grown older, a lot of people aren't told. Jacob asked me, where did this desire to go to college, where did that come from? I'm like, it didn't come. It was embedded in me since I was a child. Yeah, right. And granted, I loved school and I loved reading and I loved being a student. So that was an easy transition. It might not have been as easy for my brother, for example.
But if you think about,
that was a given.
Yeah. So we were taught that education is important. All my siblings, were all college educated. All my children, I've got 2 down, 1 to go, all college educated, and the reason for that is education became an important part of a growth factor and also a financial expediency. When you get educated, you have more opportunity to get more money and a better job and that kind of stuff. But if you think about our society today when it comes to education, the higher education, going back to our core of our conversation, the libtards have consumed our universities, and this has been going on for generations, where higher education is nothing but indoctrination. And I remember it well, even when I would go to your presentations, the wackiness that I would see around me, free flowing, whatever. It's too much. It's not education.
Well, and Jacob and I will watch videos of people, on Instagram that come up, right? Charlie Kirk or the Jubilee videos where people are debating, 24 liberals or let 24 socialists debate one.
Charlie Kirk is Turning Point USA.
Yeah.
Super smart guy. not a college educated.
Is he?
He says college is a scam.
Oh, it is.
And potentially it is if you think about it, right? The logic behind it. I get it. Today has probably more than in the past. College probably is a scam.
More than when I was in school. I feel like it's
gotten worse.
Resurfaced even more, or surfaced even more, that truth. But
that goes to the liberalism of what the universities now entail. I mean, it's become a hotbed of liberalism and expressionism, and what happened to pure education?
And it's interesting.
They say, "Oh, education is part of that expansion of the mind." Oh, okay,
it's interesting because we'll see these videos and people will talk about how they are majoring in some
art or
10,000 word thing, right? Yeah. And Jacob asked me, "Where does that come from?" Didn't know it was a degree. Are they really? He asked me, "Are they really educated, like actually, or are they just educated in one very, very small thing?"
Yeah, it's funny. You said Charlie Kirk, right? So I saw some debate that he was doing at universities because he goes around the country and talks to young voters about, current events and stuff. And it was kind of funny. There was one kid that came up. He wanted to say his piece or whatever, and he said that he's an English major, right? So he was asking, what was the last book you read? And so he I think he said, have you read Jane Eyre? And he goes,
I don't know who classics.
I don't know who that is. I go, shit, you read that in elementary school, don't you?
No. Jane Eyre, that's a... High school? I mean, I read Wuthering Heights in the 4th grade, but that was very advanced.
Okay. But again, it's
these classics. No one reads the classics anymore.
No one reads the classics anymore, and that's and he's an English major.
Yeah.
A literature major, in fact, on top of that. It was shocking to hear that stuff. And so that's what he said, that you're the epitome of why I say college is a scam.
Damn.
And there's one example after another example.
And we hate to see Charlie Kirk right. I'm just kidding.
No,
but it's just like, it makes sense. It makes sense. And, in the past when I've had conversations with, old acquaintances of mine, very political people that have allowed politics to consume their entire psyche and everything that they do in life, haven't breathed fresh air in a while. I'll ask them questions, and many of them have admitted to me. I honestly, I don't know. I haven't really read any anarchist scholars. And I'm like, but you're an anarchist, aren't you? Isn't that what you say? Yes, but I just, I'm not too sure I'm not too sure what you're asking.
It's this generation too.
Like, shit,
so it's the
that's the case.
It's the liberal, anarchist, antisocial generation that we're raising today, where they're out there in the streets protesting on the side of Hamas, as an example, or they're talking about the destruction of Israel. And it's like they don't even understand what they're talking about. They talk about free Palestine. They don't even fucking know what that means. They don't know where Palestine is. Is it real? Is it actually a country? It's actually not, and they don't get all that. And then it's funny, some of these things you see is what river are you talking about when you say from the river to the sea?
Oh, no.
And they don't even know. And they look at each other and goes, oh, I don't know.
It's tough.
It's stupid. There's stupid fucking people out there.
It's tough right now, especially even in the content that I consume, right? The H3 podcast, which is my favorite podcast aside from this one. That, right now, Ethan, who's the host of the show, is dealing with a lot of anti-Semitism, right? Yeah. A lot of dog whistling, putting swastikas in videos about him and stuff like that. And it's
1938 all over again.
He's like, when did this become okay? But because you're on the radical left, you are relieved of any criticism because you support Palestine. So you're allowed to be all of these other horrible things. But because you support Palestine, everything's all good.
So
that's just the craziest thing.
So getting back to the concept of what we're talking about, right? It is a foundational breakdown of society when we start allowing that level of behavior. Mm-hmm. We are repeating history and behaviors, and it's just wrong. And I think the liberals, that liberalization of society where everything goes. Socialism is okay as a form of economic structure. Communism is fine as a form of political structure. You cannot tell me that socialism or communism has ever succeeded in any country. It hasn't. Every single country that has adopted that is basically bankrupt, poor, harming their society. And I don't care what anybody says. I'll debate you to moon's end. There is no country where socialism has worked. Never has, never will. And I'll never forget this conversation that we had. When you started working and making money, you said to me, "Oh my God, they're taking so much taxes out of me." I go,
They still are.
Welcome to the real
bastards.
world. This is the first glimpse of the reality of liberalism. They're taking taxes from you, and they're going to use those taxes on what? Exactly. Crickets.
Let's see.
No.
Oh, no.
There you go. Crickets. Because nobody fucking knows what they do with our tax dollars.
Let's see what our national debt is right now.
What is our national
bring
debt?
us back. Let's see. National debt of the United States of America. Let's see. Approximately as of, granted, let me say the date, as of April 25th at 6:57 p.m.
That's right.
We are at $36.2 trillion.
Can you imagine? This country's total production, I think, is what, 4.2. What is our total production for this country? It's 4.2 trillion, 5.2 trillion. I'm not sure exactly, but
Let's see. It says here the debt held by the public, which is owed to domestic and foreign investors, is about 28.96 trillion.
Yeah.
And the remaining 7.26 trillion represents debt held by various federal trust funds and other government accounts.
What's our gross national product? It's just curious. I mean, we're going through this just to get a good base of the U.S. Of course, yeah. GDP. For those who don't know,
Who didn't take econ in college?
Economics. Yeah.
It says our. Let's see.
Our GDP is what? Generally,
It says 27.58 trillion.
So we are,
As of 2013. I'm sorry, 2023.
Yeah, we are above our GDP by a wide margin. So the point of all this conversation really is the United States is bankrupt. We are overspending on all kinds of nuttiness, right? Our politicians are getting wealthy.
I mean, it most definitely got worse because of COVID.
That was more, again, COVID was a artificial infusion of a pandemic that really wasn't there.
Dang, we need to have a COVID episode.
Okay, because don't even get started on fucking COVID. But really, I mean, if you think about it, with the China virus, right?
Yeah.
It was a release of a virus that came from the Wuhan labs. And I don't care what anybody says. It came from China. It's documented truth.
That's right,
okay?
right? Is that contested?
No, it isn't. And the reality is,
Who's saying that it didn't come from China?
you got the libtards.
Really?
Yeah, of course, the libtards. Everything's coming from the crazy
Oh
left,
my
right?
God. I thought it came from China.
It did come from China.
Okay.
It did. And
I don't know. Commenters tell us.
There's a reason why. Old Biden, he basically pardoned that Fauci dude. He should have been in prison because he lied to Congress. So again, our government is corrupt to so many levels, and that's why our good friend Elon has been he's been heading up the Doge, right? What's Doge?
Doge, I had to look this up, okay, because I wanted to see what people have been saying about Doge, which is the Department of Government Efficiency.
What an oxymoron is that? Government efficiency. No, those things are not even parallel.
It says that it's an initiative by the second Trump administration that was tasked with cutting federal spending. And I looked and I just put Doge into Google, and these are some of the titles of the articles that are recently came out between yesterday and today. Elon Musk had the government in his grasp, then it unraveled, Washington Post. The second one is Elon Musk leaves legacy of self-destruction at Doge from Axios.
Yeah.
The BBC says, how much has Elon Musk cut from U.S. government spending?
Yeah.
And then New York Times wrote an article today saying Elon Musk and Doge's savings may be erased by new costs.
See, again, every single one of these papers you're quoting are liberal-based newspapers which write lies.
Who would you like me to look up?
I don't know.
Fox?
I know. I don't. Fox is only one component of what reality is. I mean, it's, CNN. Popular media whether it's news or whatever, it's all lies.
It's a damn mess.
The point of Doge, as an example, right, was to unravel the abuses of government. And there, I don't care what anybody says, our government is wrought with fraud, abuse, and this whole approach with Doge was to unravel that shit that we have. And so that the common American who pays their taxes, tries to live their life, can pay less taxes and live a better life. We don't need big government. Government should be dismantled at every single level. We don't need government to do what? Government is based on what? I think we should spend a certain dollar amount or a certain number of resources to take care of the less fortunate, the indigent.
How do we take care of homeless veterans? How do we take care of those people?
But first of all, we've spent billions upon billions, like he said, billions of dollars on the homeless situation. In the state of California, we spent $20 billion on homeless. Where is it? Gone because of fraud, right?
Like, where does it go?
Exactly. Where does it go? No one knows, right? It's a black hole of where the money goes. It's your tax dollars that you complain about, my tax dollars that I bitch about. It's the tax dollars that everyone else is concerned about. The issue really is government is corrupt. Our government's corrupt. We're nothing but a banana republic, I think, at this point. And I'll say that, love America, but the reality is we need austerity and deep, painful austerity.
And what is that supposed to do for everyone?
That means that we need to cut down, slash, shut down all this spending that we're doing. Government should be focused on the principal aspects of protection of our nation, which is a strong military, right? Well-paid, well-funded military, right?
I think we're good there.
No. We have to stop being the world's policeman.
Oh, that's for sure. I agree with that 1,000%.
You know what? Europe
can't save everybody.
Europe needs to now protect themselves against what? Russia?
What about Israel?
Wait, back it up here. Russia, with all due respect, Russia can't even deal with Ukraine. Why are we worried about Russia? Because they got nukes? Give me a break. We all have nukes, but so Russia can't even prosecute a war in Ukraine. So with all due respect, what are we concerned about Russia for? Russia's a second-rate nation, right? And you Russians that I know a few good Russians, and they feel the same way. So they're American now, but Russian background. But it's true. The government is just ridiculous. And, remember, Putin is nothing but a dictator, president, bullshit. He's a dictator. And so if you think about why Europe isn't covering their own cost, they need to. Let's talk about North America. Why is, there's a reason why Canada spends nothing on military spending. Now, they spend more than Mexico does. But there's a reason why nobody will ever invade North America. It's because of America. So Canada needs to spend less money. Mexico doesn't spend anything. I don't even think they have an air force. Why? Who's going to invade North America when you got the United States right there? See, again, everybody looks at the U.S. and looks at the American taxpayer as, mom, give me some money. Dad, give me some money.
A lot of people have that perspective of Israel as well, though.
What? Which part?
That Israel looks at America in the same way as mom.
Well, let's talk about that, right? So if you think about Israel, right? Israel has a population of what? I can't remember the total population, but they're sitting, she's going to look it up. They're sitting in their traditional biblical
9.7 million.
Their traditional biblical homeland, right? They're surrounded by Arabs, right? Wealthy Arab countries and poor Arab countries, right? And what? They have developed their own ability to armament, their armament industry and that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, because they're surrounded by whack job Arabs, they need protection. They need less protection. It's not that they need protection. They need additional resources, right? And there's a long-standing. Remember, they're the only democratic country in the Middle East. Everywhere else, it's a dictatorship or some other despot, that manages those countries, right? Or a kingdom or whatever it is, right? So what about Israel, right? It is within the framework of the United States to assist where our national interests are important. So Israel, I think, is important. Is Europe important? Yes, Europe is very important. But remember, Europe is an economic and military powerhouse. The U.S. doesn't need to be there. Now, will we come to the rescue? Well, yeah, we have got NATO policies or NATO relationships. We'll do our part, but we don't need to station our people there where we're expending those kinds of resources, right, from a military perspective. So again, when we speak about Israel, that's a different scenario, right? So, I've spent a lot of time, over the years doing research and history and reading. I love to read, so I read a lot about what happened in the Middle East. So you can't use Israel in the same context as you do Europe or Canada or Mexico, right? So again, Doge, I think for the purposes of our conversation, is not dismantling. They're basically bringing to the surface all of the fraud and waste, right? And this whack job libtards people who used to love Elon Musk. Now, to this day, I won't buy an electric vehicle.
Oh, an electric vehicle in general.
Tesla or otherwise, because we don't have the infrastructure to support it in this country, and that's why I won't do it, because I still need to be able to, drive where I need to drive and not be worried about run out of electricity, right? But I own a hybrid. I own a hybrid that gets me 66.7 miles to the gallon. I love that shit, But I also have my 14 mile to the gallon Jeep, because I like my American Jeep, So, but yeah, they're beating up Elon Musk because he's trying to do what's right for the benefit of the country. A lot of libtards, just to close that subject line, and then you can chime in. A lot of libbies. Libbies is
I like word. Libbies.
Yeah, libtards, libbies. What are whack jobs or whatever you want to call them, right? They used to love Elon because of electric and the green policy, all that great stuff. And because he's chosen to work and side with Trump's overall policies of helping this country, he's now enemy number one. Ridiculous.
I feel
just
like
stupid.
I'll say I don't think that, and this is like a huge criticism during Trump's second re-election, but it was the fact that a lot of people don't believe that the Democratic Party or liberals in general, that there are no good liberal leaders.
We have none.
We have zero, and so
first of all, the leader and liberal, they shouldn't be in the same context.
You know what I mean?
No,
it's difficult because a lot of people don't have good places to get information from. We don't have a lot of politicians that we can trust, that are working for us and not for themselves. It's very difficult, and we only have a 2-party system, so that's also fucked. But I think it's interesting that at one point in time, Mark Zuckerberg was liberal as well, and now he's a huge Republican, and he's definitely just kind of goes with the wind wherever he needs to, right? He's kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing, and I feel like Elon Musk is that way as well, where it's really just what benefits them at the time.
How does it benefit him?
You don't think Elon Musk is benefiting from any of this?
Tell me how does he benefit? Say that people state those kinds of things, not to put you on the spot, but how does he benefit? Exactly. It's like crickets.
How does he benefit?
You know why? Because he doesn't. He's been harmed by.
So he's just a saint.
He's been harmed by. No, I think he has tried to help and put his best efforts forward. Remember, Elon Musk is not your average person. He's actually highly intelligent. And he's got flourishing businesses. I mean, he just saved a bunch of astronauts by sending a rocket up there to go pick them up. I mean, who the fuck does that? It's pretty fascinating shit to be able to do that. He is doing this out of charity, out of willingness to help society. And how does he benefit? His businesses have been harmed, by the liberal crazies out there.
The libbies?
The libtards.
I like Libby.
And so why do this? Why go into politics today when you're nothing but eviscerated in popular media and the wacky people that
You
are
can
out
say the
there?
same thing about left politicians as well.
No, left, right,
Everyone's
whatever.
on the plate.
I wouldn't go to politics.
Oh, hell no.
Hell no. It's a thankless job. Government's corrupt and it's kind of funny. We were talking about, maybe some other podcasts at the back, but we talk about, TDS and Trump derangement syndrome. That's usually coming from the crazy liberals who just can't seem to, the reality of the fact that Trump won an election. And I'm going to leave the country now, Rosie O'Donnell and all those other, wacky liberals. I'm going to leave the country because I can't live in a country that has, Trump in there. He's going to fucking leave then. He needs you here.
They're like, get out of here.
Get out of here, you. But if you think about the logic behind the purpose of, let's say, Doge and whatnot, it's actually to save us tax dollars. And it means that there is pure corruption in our government, pure fraud, corruption, waste. Right, and we've known this for decades and decades and decades. The $10,000 ashtray, these are your tax dollars. Those are my tax dollars. I get angry when I see somebody who is a veteran and can't get the care that they need in a country as rich as ours.
Doesn't make sense.
I have an issue with children from less fortunate families who struggle getting food, or families struggling getting food. It's kind of funny. I don't know where I was going, but I saw a line of cars, and this goes to fraud as well. I saw a line of cars for a pantry. I think a food pantry.
Food pantry.
And it's kind of funny. People in everything from a brand new Honda,
I've seen that before
to
too.
a Mercedes
trying
SUV,
to get free food.
trying to get free food.
Yeah.
Now, is that not fraud? Of course, it's fraud.
Yeah.
It's actually disgraceful, So it's kind of funny. One year, I was just on a side note. One year, I was coming off the freeway ramp, and a little panhandler guy was asking for whatever. He said, I haven't eaten in 2 days, or whatever it is. Whatever it is. And of course, he's got the brand new iPhone 12, or at the time, this is years ago. Can you imagine? So
these are rare cases.
I whip out.
Let me just say for context,
I whip out the granola bar, and it's funny. I see,
because mind you, my dad carries granola bars and snacks in the car for people.
Yeah.
And did he not want it?
He took it.
Oh, he did.
And it was funny. It was the car behind me that made a comment. I saw them in the background talking or whatever. They honked, I think. It was, and I didn't think twice about it. But it's like whatever, And it was actually my mother and my aunt.
Oh, really?
And they realized it was me, and they were going, "What are you doing?" So it's like, look at him. He's giving food away to these homeless people.
It has happened a few times that where you have offered food.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, can you give me $5? I'm really hungry." And you're like, "Actually, I'll buy you something."
Yeah.
And they say, "No, never mind."
Yeah. So
that's the hard part.
We were in the San Fernando Valley, and I was with your brother, and we went to go get some stuff at one of the bakeries that I like in the valley, and some guy was sitting on the curb, definitely homeless, and he was looking for buds or whatever, cigarette buds or whatever. And I said, "Hey, have you eaten?" And he goes, "No, but I'm okay." I go, "I'm gonna go get you something to eat, okay?" And he's just like, whatever. And so I came back out with it. He goes, No, I don't want any food. I want money. Can you give me money? No, I can give you food, but I can give you money. Didn't want to take the food.
Yeah.
So whatever. Yeah.
There have been a few situations where I've befriended homeless people, and I mean, for the people in the comments, tell me, I've heard that the word homeless people is a bad word now. We have to say houseless. I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Hobos. I like hobos. Homeless.
Oh my God.
Bums. I like all those words.
Everyone knows this is how my dad is already. But
like those
granted,
words.
anyway, I say that with a lot of affection. Homeless. I don't know what's the right word to say, but
hobos. I like the old word hobos.
There have been a few friends that I've befriended. Yes, and
that are hobos.
When I was living at my mom's.
Your mom took in a hobo?
No. Oh my God.
Okay, I wasn't
When
sure.
I was living at my mom's, I would get gas, or I would get a gas station coffee. That was like a thing that I was doing at the time. look, whatever. I have my
McDonald's coffee.
I have my things. It's worse than McDonald's, honestly.
7-Eleven coffee.
Yeah, Arco coffee, even worse. But I would go and grab my coffee, and there was this guy, and his name was Moses, and he would ask me, "Oh, do you have money?" And I'd be like, "No, but I can get you something. Come." And then one day I just said, "Come with me, come inside." And then he was just like, "Okay." It was this big burly guy with just covered and just matted beard and everything. I'm like, "Come with me, Moses." And then he just kept looking at me like he looked at me like I was gonna kill him. And then I just said, "Here, grab a drink. Do you want water?" And so he grabbed a cherry Pepsi. And
cherry Pepsi.
Yeah. Okay. And I bought him about, I would say, like half a dozen cherry Pepsis in our friendship.
Right.
And the last time I spoke to him, granted, I also brought him a blanket from my house because he was really cold and it was raining outside. And I just said, "Here, Moses," and I put it inside his cart. The last time he and I had a conversation, I didn't see the blanket there anymore in the cart. He sold it. And so I asked him, "Moses, where did the blanket go?" And he just said, he literally I don't know if he remembered me after that. Yeah. He just kept saying that he had just got back from Vietnam and how got back. He had to put his head back on because they blew it off with the grenade and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, he's really like PTS, having a hard day. I'm not too sure if he was a veteran or not. I just
we do know that Vietnam was like some 50 years ago or something like that.
So I'm pretty sure he was just kind of going through his motions. Yeah. But he just he pulled out a freaking knife on me from his jacket. Yeah. And we were in front of the gas station. Yeah. He was just like, "Get the fuck away from me. Like, don't take my stuff. Get away from me." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not even.
So anyway. It's funny. We talk about, so again, restructuring the conversation backwards. So I think government's purpose is to help. Oh, we have something in the office or in the studio. It's a mosquito or whatever. Government's purpose is to, a strong military, help society to a point, right? But beyond that, we don't need the layers of government bureaucracy and agencies that govern every move we make, With double taxation, triple taxation. It's kind of funny. I was talking to the neighbor, and it's like he's going, I bought this house and I paid, X number of dollars for it, but I paid taxes on it each year. And it's like they're taxing me on top of taxing me on top of taxing me. Yeah, exactly. Every dollar that we make is taxed 7 times or more. And it's shocking that we do that. We work we work to earn a paycheck or we run a business, and we're taxed at the business level, right? We're taxed as a business. We're taxed at the employer level when we're paying our employees. We're taxed at, every product we purchase, there's tax associated with it. It's just tax upon tax upon tax. And if you think back 250 some odd years back, we went to war with England for what, a 2% tax on tea.
Yeah.
What we need to do is go to war with our own government, shut it down, and dismantle our government structure and start all over again. We talk about anarchy over the years, right?
I feel like you're low-key an anarchist.
It's like, I'm the first one to say, shut down this government because it's bullshit. We're spending money where we don't need to be spending. And therein lies the whole issue of Doge, right? Doge was to come in and shut down, where we're spending $18 million a month on an empty building. Why? Exactly. Why? And, it goes back to all that government fraud that's there. Our politicians are fraud, our fraudsters. How is it possible that you get an empty suit like Gavin Newsom, or you get a brain dead individual like Biden, who's been nothing but a politician for 50 years, never worked a day in his life other than politics, and he comes out with millions of dollars. Or Nancy Pelosi, who controls, different departments and different committees, and she makes trades on, legislation. She makes trades based on legislation she controls, and the woman's worth $120 million. It's just ridiculous. The level of
people
fraud
want her out
in government. She needs to drop dead.
That's what people really want.
And now, unfortunately, you've got so we talk about these politics, right? So Doge is trying to. I like the concept. Execution probably could have been better. You know, I think that probably should have been better. Communication could have been better. I think it's admirable to cut government waste, and I think every American on this in this country should be on board with it, and not take it out on Elon Musk because of the job he's trying to do.
And that jumps into my question
So
for you.
everybody run out and buy a Tesla.
Oh my God, that's my question for you. And
Not me though.
Yeah, not you, but everyone else, right? Right.
I drive a hybrid.
That's my question for you to kind of cap our episode is, if there is one thing that you can slash government funding on, one thing, could be small, big, what would it be tomorrow that Trump has yet to do?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's so much garbage out there. I think we spend enormous money on social programs like social welfare. And I think social welfare has become this expectation rather than a short-term situation. So I think social welfare is probably one thing that I would probably want to look at. Respectfully look at it in the sense of, you know, it should not be something for life. It should be something or for
temporary.
It should be extremely temporary, in a way where we can say, you know what, you need help? Great. Come work. Clean up roads. Do this. Paint walls. Do something to support the payment we're giving you as a society. I think that would be a good use of resources. So again, it's a very tough question to answer because there's just so much fraud and waste in our government. And this is up and down. This is within the military structure, the military industrial complex, as everybody said. For the last 50, 60, 70 years.
Pretty sure the libtards created that.
They did create that.
Yeah.
They did create that. The
credit where it's due.
Yeah. But you know what? The first time I think I heard it was Eisenhower. I wasn't around, but I heard it in a speech, right? The military industrial complex, where that concept of, keep the country going to war, because, the industrial complex of, military, needs to keep being fed, no, not really. Do we need 11 aircraft carriers? Probably not. But we probably need, that goes to the whole premise of the fact that we're, the world's policemen. We got to stop that nonsense. Right. So again,
it's so multi-layered.
Let me tell you, cutting waste. We can look at every single department within the government structure, both federal, state, and local, county, and city, and look at all the layers of fat and fraud that's out there, and we can cut. I work for local government, and I know there's so much waste there. And there's so much fraud going on within the local government.
So many dumbass people getting paid for nothing.
There's a lot of stupid people working in local government that don't need to be working, and we don't need to be paying for them. So then I think one person that I know said to me, well, what do we do with all these people who have lost their jobs from their government jobs? You shrug your shoulders. I don't know. What? Well, it's not our job to give them a job as government. They need to figure it out. Which is a tough statement to make because they don't have a job anymore.
Doesn't seem like there's a lot of compassion there.
So it sounds uncompassionate, but you know what the reality is? You have to have that balance of the reality of they probably haven't been working to any benefit. And we can't just keep
to the government.
Yeah, they have
benefit to their family, but not the government.
Yeah, but just because you have a paycheck doesn't mean you're benefiting the employer you're working for.
Right.
So again, it's that situation where do we need all these government workers? Probably not. We don't, in fact. We don't need a bloated government that does nothing but hire people to fill agencies here and there and whatnot. So again, to answer your question, it's up and down the food chain of cutting. To answer the one question, which government agency, I think I answered it. I mean, I think the social welfare is a big problem. So fraught with disaster, waste, and all these other things. It's the toughest part of society because people there are really people that are harmed. I mean,
that are struggling.
Not struggling. I mean, not harmed, but struggling. There are people that really do struggle with dependencies and all these other things. Is it our problem? Is it my problem? It's not my specific problem, but I'm part of society, so it's our problem as a society. We have to find solutions that help people, but limit waste. Because we've spent so much money in social programs by the libtards and everything else, and it's just gone to waste. We're just wasting more and more money, resources, and this country is bankrupt. There you go. That's my 2 cents.
That's the bitter truth right there.
That's the bitter truth. Unfortunately, it is.
Damn.
So, I mean, I could ask you the same question. Do you feel that same veracity of loss and waste and all that stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like there are a lot of people that desperately need the
politically,
help.
what the hell are you? You're a bit of a Libby tart, aren't you?
God, I don't even know these days. I tried my best to keep my head down and work and appreciate my home and my family, and that's it. It's very exhausting, the political sphere right now.
Yeah,
it's extremely exhausting, and it's very alienating. So it almost makes you want to just avoid it. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at personally, and I know a lot of people that are feeling the same way.
So let me flip the question back to you. What would you do? What would you cut? In your Libby ways.
I mean, if I can expand on what you shared, these social welfare programs, like, yeah, I know that there is a lot of corruption there. I know that there are a lot of people claiming that they need help when they don't, and they're just basically leeching off of the government. I know that happened a lot during COVID.
Does Harvard need $2 billion a year? What do you benefit from Harvard?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to cut those endowments and those contributions by our government to all the Ivy League universities, all those universities.
Fuck the Ivy Leagues. Just kidding.
But if you think about it, again, more waste and fraud.
It just doesn't make sense. And so, how we would measure that, how we would measure struggle or people needing help, or the WIC program and all these programs for new families and stuff like that.
Women, children, something like that.
Yeah. How do we measure that? Right? Is everyone in the household working? Is everyone trying to support the family, or are we just trying to get some extra cash?
Well, if you think about it, right? We've created such a problem in the last several decades, especially the last 4 years with illegal immigration. We've got illegal aliens in this country, consuming resources where they don't have enough. They don't contribute backwards the same level as they consume, and that's a real fact. A lot of people, a lot of the libtards allow these.
I think there's a way more vast number of Americans corrupting our own system before illegal.
I'd rather give resources to American citizens than any illegal alien.
Even if they don't actually need it.
You know what? They're American citizens.
That's crazy.
You don't want illegal aliens coming into this country utilizing resources. You don't. It's not that I don't sympathize with the fact that they want to have a better life. Everybody comes to America for a better world, a better existence. I get it. But you know what? We can't afford all the poor people of the world. We can't because there's not enough tax dollars. You can't tax enough income. If you make a buck, what are you going to do? Tax it 75%, and you're left with what? You can't do that. So again, we have problems. Systematic problems in this country that needs to be fixed. I don't have all the answers. And somebody asked me, well, what would you do? I don't know. I'd slash and burn. I'd probably shut down the entire government, fire every politician out there, and mandate that politicians can only be in politics for 4 years.
Everyone.
Done.
The cycling everyone.
Turn it around. You know why? And a lot of people say, oh, you can't do that because you need consistency in politics. Okay, so stagger it every year. But being a politician was never meant to be a career. It was meant to be you put in your service,
right? And
you go back to your farms, your businesses, or whatever. It's become an industry, and that's the problem with our current government structure. So when we speak about TDS, it's all bullshit. It's the liberals looking to make negative of the current administration, destroy Elon with bad press and wacky people setting fires to cars. It's the level of social acrimony is it's terrible, and it's all coming from the liberals. You don't see conservatives doing that kind of stuff. You don't. They just rather shoot you in the head.
Yeah, I'm like, we see conservatives doing some crazy ass shit too, but
like what? Name one thing.
I mean,
one thing.
How would you describe storming the Capitol?
What, storming the Capitol?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't like the election that took place because it was all fraught with fraud.
So we just okay.
They went to jail. You know,
Not everybody. I don't think so. At least.
what happened to the woman who was shot by the by the by the security officer? That we don't hear about that poor woman who was shot, and all she was doing was standing at the door.
Oh yeah, protesters get shot all the time.
Were they protesting or were they let into
here we go.
That's a whole nother podcast. But again, you can say that, but when cities are burning because liberals are burning cities and you got these kids running in and out of stores stealing shit, those are based on policies that the liberals have allowed. You know, and unfortunately, everything costs more money when in certain blue states because of the policies that are there. I mean, we can go on for days and days and days and days about the craziness of this particular country, and I'm not a hater. It's just
you love America.
We need to clean up our fucking backyard, and we need to slash and burn cost. We can't afford to be the world's policeman and nursemaid for all the wacky people that want to come to this country, and we need to get rid of all these politicians. That's my 2 cents, people.
Dang, there you go.
And
in case anyone was confused on my dad's political affiliations.
It's true. Well, there you go. So
Vittorio for president. Here we go.
No, I would never run. You would? Would you run for politics?
Fuck no! I have way too many skeletons in my closet.
I got too many skeletons. I would have so many freaking people coming out of the woodwork going, "He did this. He did that." Hell no, I wouldn't do that kind of shit.
And I care way too much about my joy and my peace and my religion. You know.
I'm much older, so I just I can theorize about our politics and whatnot, and enjoy and read and just laugh and chuckle. And I've watched certain podcasts and I laugh. I go, "What fucking crazy people that we live with."
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
People are just wacky, and even close people that I associate with, the shit that comes out of their mouth, man. So many fucking conspiracy theories that's just like, what the fuck? True story.
There are people in our family that believe that the earth is flat. I
was going to say that. I go, we have people in our family that...
And we're educated, okay?
I had a conversation with somebody, and he said, the world's flat. I go, are you fucking crazy?
I swear.
I know. I mean, that's what I told him.
I wonder if this is the same person we're talking about.
I told him that. I don't know who you're talking about, but we won't say names.
Yeah.
But yeah. The world is not flat, my friend, okay? But whatever. But
okay.
But again, that's what our society has, a bounty of various people,
how beautiful,
thoughts and whatever. But but I will say, of all the troubles we have in this country, there's a reason why everybody wants to come to the U.S. because it is the best place to grow and live a life, where you can actually make yourself something.
And this is also the only country that you can criticize it and be fine.
That's right.
So
you're not going to come
from a very privileged standpoint.
You're not going to have the black leather people coming with the black leather suits or jackets with the hat, and they're not going to come with the big the stormtroopers coming.
Yeah.
In. They're not going to do that to you in this country. You have the ability to criticize.
Say whatever the fuck you want, really.
But
crazy stuff.
In all reality, we need to do something in this society because your generation is going to suffer the most because you're going to have to take the mantle of paying the taxes and that kind of stuff. When you think about where the libtards are coming. Who are they propping up? They got that crazy fucking Sandy. Burns.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, the fucking old mother effer, whack job, communist old fucker.
He's not even a communist.
He needs to drop dead and walk away,
He's
crawl
not
back
a
underneath.
communist.
And then they got the little twat. What's her name?
AOC.
AOC. Oh my God! Can you imagine AOC for president?
It wouldn't
the
happen.
liberals are just stupid.
It wouldn't happen.
It's just ridiculous.
No, it wouldn't happen.
They got Gavin Newsom, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. Oh my God. A lost generation of whack jobs.
We're all struggling here, all of us. Yeah. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Give us your solutions on this burning country of ours.
Not burning, just evolving in a negative way.
That's a very sweet way to say it.
There you go.
And just give your recipe for the solution in the comments.
We can go a long way. So. Yeah. All right, guys. We've been going on about this for almost an hour, so we appreciate you guys listening to our rants or my rants and her rants and whatever about our politics, Doge and everything else that's going on in our society. But Stay healthy, stay safe, and thanks for listening. And we're on YouTube, and certainly if you're all listening on YouTube, then like and subscribe. If you're on all the other podcasts, we're on all of them.
Please drop a comment.
Please drop a comment. We appreciate you. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.